the thing I want to mention that is, the more I think about it, really is outstanding for laying out what God has done as far as patterns in biblical history projected into our time, into the end time. And it really hits some major timelines that we are aware of, like 1994, 2011, and 2033. Here's the timeline. The flood took place in the year 4990 BC. And that was after 6,023 years from creation. The year 4990 BC, if you go from that date to the year 1990 BC, and when you're on the Old Testament side of the cross, you're counting down from creation, counting down through the years. So 4990 flood date minus 1990, it would be 3,000 years, right? 4990 minus 1990 equals 3,000 years. Here's something to assist. For these dates I'm going to give you, we're going to go 17 years backward from the date, and then 23 years forward from the date, and the total will be 40, 23 plus 17, 40. But, okay, we're on 1990. What's the significance of that? Goes 17 years backward, and it's 2007. 1990 plus 17, 2007 BC. Jacob and Esau are born. Okay, so in 1990, Jacob and Esau, who are twins, are 17 years old. Now, go forward 23 years, and we come to the year 1967 BC, and Jacob and Esau are 40. They're 40 years old, and in 1967 BC, Esau fails the test. And that's very significant, because Esau is also Edom, and Edom is Adam, so he represents mankind. Fails the test. Okay, now again from the flood, 4990 BC, we travel to 990 BC, 4,000 years. 4990 minus 990 equals 4,000. 4,000 years from the flood. And from 990, go back 17 years, and it's 1007 BC. And what happened? David becomes king. David becomes king. In the year 990, it's the 17th year that David is king. And from 990, go forward 23 years, 967 BC, and David dies in his 40th year, and the foundation of the temple is laid. So again, 990, fullness of thousands of years from the flood, back 17 years, major event, David becomes king, forward 23 years, another major event, David dies, foundation of temple is laid, total 40 years since 1007 BC. Okay, the third time path from the flood, 4990 BC to 11 AD. 11 AD. Now here we're going to minus 1 because no year is 0. So 4990 plus 11 would be 5001 minus 1, 5,000 years. So that is just like Jacob and Esau, 3,000, 1990. David in his 17th year, 990, that's 4,000. Now in 11 AD, 5,000 exact years from the flood, go back 17 years, and what happened? 7 BC, Jesus is born. Jesus is born. If you go back from 11 AD to 7 BC, it's 18 minus 1, 17 years. Okay, now go forward 23 years. From 11 AD, 23 inclusive years, takes you to the cross in 33 AD, major event. That's an understatement. Major event. Fullness of 1,000 years, back 17 years. It's also a major event. Christ is born, 7 BC. Go forward, 23 inclusive years, major event. And combine the two, 40 calendar years from 7 BC until 33 AD. Do you see the pattern? You see the pattern? With Jacob and Esau, back 17, forward 23. With King David, 990, back 17, forward 23. Major events on both ends. Total 40 in each case. 40 with Jacob and Esau, 40 with David, 40 with the Lord Jesus Christ. Those are all absolute dates. They're absolute because the biblical calendar of history establishes them. No question, no doubt, no question marks, no probability, absolute dates. Now we project from the flood to the year 2011, and 4990 plus 2011 equals 7,000. 7,000. So you see it's following the pattern that 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And you go to 2011, 7,000 years exactly from the flood. No question about that. Go back 17 years. And what do you land on? 1994. 1994. Major event. Major event. And go forward from 2011, 23 inclusive years, and you come to 2033, which the biblical evidence is pointing to for the end of the world. Now, one thing I didn't mention that's in view in 3 out of the 4 cases that when David, we went backward with David, 1990 to 1007, when he became king, that was a Jubilee year. And when we went back with the Lord Jesus from 11 AD to 17 years back to 7 BC, that was a Jubilee year. And when we go back 2011 to 1994, that was a Jubilee year. 1994 was a Jubilee year. If we go back to 2007 BC, with Jacob and Esau's birth, we could say proleptically that was a Jubilee year. And what proleptic means is if the calendar, like when we say a proleptic Gregorian calendar date, if the Gregorian calendar date were being used at that time. Well, likewise, if the Jubilee was operating at the time of 2007 BC, it would have been a Jubilee year. But the Jubilee, God didn't institute until the crossing of Jordan, and then 50 years from that point, the first Jubilee was 1357 BC. And in the Old Testament, every year would 57 or 07 would be a Jubilee. So if you backtrack, then going backwards every year with a 07 or a 57 would also be a Jubilee. But anyway, that is It's astounding. It's astounding because it is hitting upon, it's showing us the reason there is a 1994 and then 17 years later, 2011. And it's showing us the reason after that, 2033. It's following the complete pattern, even without the Old Testament of David or of Jacob and Esau, just the pattern of Christ's first coming, 7 BC, 11 AD, 33 AD. It's a perfect match to the pattern. If biblical evidence that lays out these patterns in biblical history, if God continues to follow the pattern, then there will be no doubt that 2033 would be the end of the world. 2033, 2011, 1994 follow the biblical pattern of history as God has fulfilled the timeline of events from key dates from the flood. We just followed the flood in this case, and there's more to this particular timeline from creation. There's also a pattern when you get to the date like 1967. There was 23 years from 1990, 40 years from 2007. 1967 from creation is 9,046 years. When you get to 967, again, with 967, the 40th year after 23rd year from 990, 40th year from 1007 BC, 967 is the 10,046th year from creation. And from creation to the cross, same thing. From 11 AD, 23 years inclusive, 40 overall calendar years from 7 BC. From creation, the cross, 11,046 calendar years. And likewise, from creation to 2033, 13,046 calendar years. We have, by God's grace, through his opening of our understanding, we have come across a pattern that God has followed. And that's why I'm saying, if God follows the pattern, the world will end in 2033. Now, the significant thing is that God has always, throughout all previous biblical history, followed that pattern. It would, in other words, if he does not follow the pattern in 2033, then, which would be his good privilege to do, but it will be the first time in all history that he has not followed the pattern.